Welcome back everyone to another episode of Just a Modpack. Now before we get started, I did a bit of grinding off camera, so let me just take a bit of time to explain the stuff that I got. Now unfortunately, I did accidentally die. Very sad, I know. I was exploring one of the dungeons, and I came across this room that had a creeper spawner in it. And so I backed away slowly, but a creeper still exploded, and that activated a bunch of TNT that was beneath the floor. And although I was far enough away from the actual explosion, the explosion itself launched a stray piece of TNT directly at me, and before I had a chance to react, it exploded, and I lost all my health. I did manage to make it back, thankfully, but there is now one death that is off camera, and out of rage I ended up killing a few dragons by abusing the blaze morph, and instead of using my bow, I used a very overpowered pair of inventory pets. As a result of killing dragons, I managed to get this dragon scale armor, which is a very good set. I think so anyways. I also did a bit of fishing, which I still don't know too much about, and so I won't explain that here, but I will most likely do that in a future episode. And I also expanded my storage system a very slight amount. I have a lot of normal chests, which you see, but I also have a skystone chest, a crystal chest in the middle, and a bookcase on the top. My storage system is still kind of thrown around a bit, but again, in a future episode, I will work on expanding that and actually making it somewhat organized. With all of that out of the way though, let's actually get into the video. Now to start off this episode, I want to start working on expanding my base, and in order to do that, I need a hammer from Tinker's Construct. It's been a while since I've used this mod, or any mod, really, I guess. So off camera, I watched a few videos to kind of educate myself a bit, and to start things off, I'll be getting some blank patterns, a stencil table, a part builder, and a tool station. Now for some of these I did make them off camera and just put them into the transmutation table, and that was mainly to save time. I also forgot to get a pattern chest, but now that I have all of these already made, I can just place them down and start working on actually making this hammer. Now with the stencil table I can put blank patterns inside and just create all the patterns that I need pretty much. Using these I can create any of the tools in Tinker's Construct. And then in the pattern chest, I can just throw all of them in. And by placing the pattern chest right next to all these other stations, I have very easy access to all the patterns there on the left. I also want to get all these seared blocks out so I can actually work on making the forge. For the time being, I'm going to make this outside, but at some point when I get to expanding my base, I'll eventually make it inside. Now in order to make this, I just need some seared bricks, which I'll make a 3x3 floor out of. Then I'll fill in the surrounding blocks. In the front, I'm going to place some seared tanks, and then a smeltery controller. I'm also going to replace the tanks with a seared gauge, but they pretty much do the same thing. I just like the way these look more. To finish up, I'm just going to build it a bit higher, and then I'm going to replace some of the side blocks with some drains. This way I can actually pour out the materials I put in. I also want to put some basins down, and these can create ore blocks. And so the smeltery actually works, I want to fill up the tanks with lava. Oh yeah, I forgot one important thing. On one of these sides, I want to get some casting tables, and that way I can actually cast stuff, as the name suggests. With the basins, I can only create ore blocks, but with the casting table, I can create casts and then use those to get the items I need to make the Tinker Construct tools. Oh, that's right, I forgot. In order to make certain advanced tools, I can't use just the normal wooden tool station, and so I need to upgrade it to a tool forge. And now I can actually craft a hammer. Now in order to create an item cast, I can select one of the patterns, put some cobblestone in, and I get that item. Now I have a stone hammerhead. Then by using some gold, I can go back up to the smeltery, throw the gold in, and wait for it to smelt. Then I can put the hammerhead into the casting table, and once all the gold is smelted, I get molten gold. Then I can right click the faucet and it will pour some of that onto the hammerhead. After waiting a bit for it to cool down, the hammerhead gets consumed and I get a cast in return. Also, I definitely should have looked at this before, but each hammerhead made with a different material has different attributes applied to it. You know, depending on which one I get, I probably didn't even need to make this entire smeltery, but you know, at least I now know how to make it. And I have a hammerhead cast. Now this dragon bone one actually looks pretty interesting, so I might try to make that. Do I need to smelt them? I don't. So I can just throw these dragon bones into the part crafter. And now that I look at it again, I might reconsider. It has a pretty low mining speed, I think, anyways, and I don't really need it to break obsidian, since I'm just using it to expand my base. And so I might settle for a prismarine hammerhead instead. It's cheaper to make since prismarine shards do have an EMC value, and so they can be very easily replaced. It also just has a higher mining speed, and so I think that's just an overall better option for me right now. And now for the tough tool rod and the large plates, I want to make all of those out of paper, since by doing that, it'll apply the writable attribute, which means I can just put more modifiers onto this hammer. And there we go, a prismarine paper hammer. It has writable too, and so I think that means it has 2 extra modifiers I can put on it. And modifiers are sort of like enchants, but rather than using a book and XP levels, different modifiers can be applied to the item by putting different materials into the tool forge with it. On this hammer, I want to put a diamond, so I can increase its durability, some TNT, which will apply blasting, and that'll allow the hammer to break certain blocks that it normally wouldn't be able to, and finally some redstone, which will apply haste, and that just increases its mining speed. And there we go, our prismarine paper hammer. There's also an XP level in its description, and I think when I break blocks, it gains experience and eventually just gets better. And now to try it out. That is so nice. Now it doesn't have the most durability, since most of it is made out of paper, but I have everything needed to repair it pretty easily. And there's some geonox, of course, but thankfully I can actually one-shot them now. The durability is already pretty low, so I'm just going to get some prismarine shards from the transmutation table. And do I repair it in my inventory? No, not that. In the tool forge, there we go. I can just put the hammer and prismarine shards in, and it's at full durability again. And of course, since I'm underground, there are some caves around, so I'm gonna have to fill those up at some point. Now that I have this hammer, I can also expand the lower floor that I have. I think I mentioned it in a previous video, but this is eventually gonna be where all my farming stuff is. I do have Pam's Harvest Crafts, and I just like stockpiling food, so I'm definitely gonna make a lot of farms at some point. I also want to go back outside now and break down the smeltery, since I don't think I'm going to be needing it anymore, at least for now. Ooh, there's also an interesting mob out here, so I can try to show off the inventory pet combination that I used to kill dragons. It is the Pac-Man pet and the Juggernaut pet. The Pac-Man pet increases my damage, I think it's by 2 times, but I could be wrong, and the Juggernaut pet just grants me invincibility for a minute, with a 2-minute cooldown. So it is very broken, honestly. I think I got the Juggernaut pet in one of those sky chests on the clouds that has the blazes, because normally the crafting recipe requires a nether star, I think, and so I would not be able to have this yet. But again, I got RNG carried, of course, and so I just have a minute of invincibility. Now, I also want to make a builder's wand, and this will be very useful with building, of course, as the name suggests. All I need is some magical wood, which is made with bookshelves and some gold. And there we go, 2 magical wood and a golden ingot. And I have a builder's wand. Now most of this video is just going to be me digging a big hole in the ground, so I'll probably be skipping most of it until something interesting happens. If something interesting happens. I hear a strange flapping sound that is coming from around my base. It sounds like a dragon, I think, but I'm going to ignore it for now, and hopefully it goes away at some point. And I know, pretty short video so far, but I'm going to end it here. Most of this video was just building stuff, so nothing too exciting this time. Did dabble a little bit in Tinker's Construct, but next episode I will be getting much more into all the technology stuff. And I was thinking about putting it into this video, but there's just so much stuff that I'm going to be doing, and so I want all of that to be its own separate episode. And so just for now, this is a short catch-up episode for stuff that I've been doing so far, and I will see you all in the next episode.